Hey YouTube, how's it going? Alright, so I want to talk about a little bit about Motion Enjoy, but I want to talk mostly about the SCP service. Um, the setup I'm trying to do here is just get my PS3 controller to work with the PC that I have right here. This is my media server PC that I use for, it's basically a Steam box, but a custom made box. Um, Long story short is I used to use Motion Enjoy and I had a Rocketfish dongle. Now, the dongle's compatibilities were, like the services were fine. It was above 2.0, it was all compatible with everything I needed, but it wasn't on the compatibility list for Motion Enjoy. On Windows 7, when I plugged it in and downloaded the correct drivers, I used Motion Enjoy, I would see it, I could install the drivers, everything would work fine, and I could play wirelessly on my PS3 with no problems. Now, I upgraded to Windows 10, and it wiped the drivers. The Motion Enjoy drivers are no longer compatible with my dongle, so I can't get it to work. I could install the drivers in Motion Enjoy, and it would see it in the adapter settings. It would say, oh, you have a Bluetooth adapter, go ahead and pair it, but it wouldn't pair. And then when I rebooted and I go back into Bluetooth settings, the dongle's gone. It wouldn't see it anymore. So, first off, I'll just show you what I have real quick. I'm actually going to go ahead and uninstall these because this was for testing, but you won't have this here when you go to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this out of my system real quick. Now this is what I have, is the Rocketfish Bluetooth adapter. Now it doesn't really matter, I mean, from my understanding, as long as you have a 2.0 and higher dongle, this should work for your system. And again, before you do anything with SCP, just remember that whatever dongle you want to use with your PS3 controller, it's going to dedicate that dongle for only PS3 controllers, so you can't use it for anything else. So don't use like your wireless keyboard and mouse dongle. It's not going to work. Or if it does work, you're not going to be able to use your keyboard and mouse. So don't even do it. Just get a dedicated dongle that you want to use. Make sure it's compatible. Alright, so I'll give you the downloaders in the comment section. But there's a couple of things here. I've been looking at so many videos and there's so many issues from start to finish about this doesn't work if you do this, or this doesn't work if you do this. So we're going to do a few things. Okay, first off is I'm going to assume that a lot of these people who are coming to this video have already installed SCP and tried to get it to work and it didn't work, or there was a whole bunch of problems. Now, the problem with that is that SCP installs itself as a service. So if you delete the file, let's say you followed the other videos and it said in here, make a Scarlet production folder and put it in there, and you ended up deleting it and trying to reinstall SCP to try to get it to work, or you try to update SCP to a newer version, that service was tied to that folder and you deleted the folder, so now the service doesn't run, but it can't be reinstalled because Windows thinks the service is still there, and I'll show you what I mean. So I used to have, again, in here, I used to have the SCP in here, and I deleted the folder because I was playing around trying to figure this all out. And if you go here, I'll just give you an example. Services that. Now look right here. SCP DS3 service, but I can't start it because the folder that had the service is gone because I deleted it. And because this is here, if I try to go through the reinstallation, it's not going to work. It will not reinstall this service, and you need this service to have it work. So a simple thing is go ahead and just run CMD as administrator, and you want to delete the service. So first we need to find the service name right here. So do a SC for service, and then delete DS3 service. Good. Now it's been uninstalled. And again, you only need to do this if you already had, you know, CSP installed at one point, or SCP installed at one point, and you uninstalled it, or you try to update it, or you did whatever. If you didn't, you can just go ahead and skip this first part of the section if this is a new install. So now, because I uninstalled the drivers and I uninstalled that, I'm going to go ahead and reboot my system real quick. just give it a second to come up. I'm going to show you all the issues that I ran into, and hopefully this will help for a lot of you people. But I've seen some people where they had a dongle that was on the compatibility list, and they didn't have to replace the drivers. I had some people that had to replace the drivers. I had some people that had their contents blocked and they had to unblock it, but they put in a totally separate video, and yeah, they didn't remake a whole video showing the whole process. I don't know why these people are doing these things. So I'm going to try to cover everything that I know and get this working for you. Now, 1 second, just waiting for the... Yep, there it goes. Let's back up. Just to double check, you can go into the services again. Okay, good. No SCP service is gone now. Now, from here, it's a fresh new install. Like, I've never installed anything before. No big deal. My drivers are... All my previous drivers are uninstalled. You can see here, it's just the dongle, no PS controller or anything. Now, at this point, go ahead and plug in your dongle that you want to use and plug in the PS3 controller to the PC. Mine's already plugged in. And again, I'll put these downloads in the description, but here's the next problem. So I originally installed this and it worked fine, it worked great, but I wanted to modify the mappings on my mouse or on my controller, because I have a PS3 controller and it's using Xbox controller. And the problem with that is that it reverses the aiming and shooting controls. So it's going to be on like L2 and R2, and I want it on L1 and R1. So I tried to update it, and then when I tried to update it, because I had the service installed from the previous install from this one, it wouldn't work, and it totally blew out my configuration. So I spent, you know, the rest of the day trying to figure it out, and this is what I figured out was because of that service that we deleted earlier. So let's start from scratch. Let's say you just downloaded these two, and what I would do is definitely put it in a subfolder because it's about to get a little messy here. I'm going to go ahead and extract this. Okay, and I don't need all these subfolders, I just need one subfolder. So I'm going to take this and paste it to the desktop. And then now we're going to want, you can delete this one here. Now we're going to want the updated one. This will let you do all the other cool stuff I was talking about, like replacing mappings or editing mappings or showing, you know, edit mappings for different controllers too. So that's pretty awesome. So we're going to take the extracted one and we're just going to copy this contents. And before I do that, I just want to show you something real quick. This is the main issue a lot of people are having. When you extract something that was zipped from another computer, okay, and you go in here and you're like, hey, I'm just going to go through the process and install the drivers and all that fun stuff. That's great and all, and you can do that, but this file came from another computer, so it's going to be blocked. Now, a lot of people, they just go through manually and unblock whatever they need. That's not a good idea because a lot of these programs are tied to these files, and you didn't unblock these files too, and it causes a lot of issues. So what I'm going to show you right now is, first off, we want to copy everything in the updated folder. So that we just extracted the updated folder. We want it to be as up to date as possible. So I'm just going to replace the contents of whatever's in here. Yes, replace. Okay, done. Now, because of the block, we want to unblock that. So to do that, it's really simple. If you just send to a zip file, okay, good. Now delete this one and extract. Now what this is doing is that you're forcing Windows to see that it was zipped and unzipped on your system. So now if you go into here, bam, no more blocks. Everything's unblocked now. Go ahead and delete this. Now a lot of people will say, oh yeah, go into your C drive and make a Scarlet dash or .crush productions folder. That's all BS. That is just advertising. That's ads. You don't need that. You don't need it at all. All you need is a folder here. And I'm just going to cut and paste this here because, again, the service is tied to this right here. right here, where it says, not server, service, right here. It's tied to this application. So if you delete this folder, that service is still installed, and it will not work. So you need to keep the folder somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Some people leave on their desktop. I just like it out of the way, so I'm putting it here on my C. And you can call it this. You don't have to call it Scarlet Dash Crash Productions. You know, just whatever you want to call it. You can even just call it, rename this, just call it DS3, whatever you want. Alright, now this is where the fun comes in. For the dongle, you want to replace the drivers if they're not compatible. Or even just do it anyways, just to make it a dedicated dongle. So go into here, right click, and hit Run as Administrator. Device, load preset, hit Bluetooth. Options, list device. Now go through here and find your dongle. Mine's the Rocketfish. Just make sure you select the right one, because again, if you select one, let's say, you know, here, this is for my keyboard and mouse, it's going to replace that, and then I can't use my keyboard and mouse anymore. So make sure you select the right one and hit install. Okay, good, done. Now, I've done that before on my dongle, so it's not going to ask me to reboot, but most of the people will tell you to reboot. I just say go ahead and reboot it anyways, just to be safe. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And again, I don't know why some people do this, but they make a video and it shows how to do the install process, but it doesn't show how to unblock the files. It doesn't show anything about that service that I was talking about. A lot of these people that are coming to these sites already tried to use SCP, and they already tried to use Motion Play or Motion Enjoy, and they had these problems. You have to take that into consideration. You have to realize that people have already tried to install these products, so you need to make sure you delete the service. You need to make sure you uninstall the old drivers. You need to do these things before trying to reinstall from scratch. And a lot of people don't see that, so a lot of people run into problems. Okay, so we go back into the C drive. Eventually. Back into our folder. Now we don't need to do the Zogdig again, that's all done. Our dongle is all set and ready to go. So next thing you want to do is the drivers. Right click, run as administrator. Now some people are going to say do force install, some people are going to say not. I mean, what I would say is just go ahead and, if you have the Bluetooth adapter, obviously make sure the defaults are checked. I say don't do the force install, let it run through, and you should see 4 things installed. I didn't see 4 things, see there's only 2. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out, run as administrator, and I do a force install. Because we should see like the service being reinstalled, and we should see other things being reinstalled. I only saw 2, and there should be at least 3 or 4. So let's see what happens here. There we go. So you look 3. And previously on the first install, the service was already installed. So I'm pretty sure we can go back to services. And again, this might require a reboot first, but there. See, it's already back, and it's started and it's running, so that we're in a good spot. So I say just go ahead and do the force install anyways, but that way you make sure you get the bus driver and everything else that you need. Now exit. Now open the monitor. See, you hear that sound? That means I already know I'm connected. But look, bam, my Bluetooth adapter and my controller. Now the cool thing about DS3, oh, I'm sorry, not this DS3, but you can have multiple controllers connected to the same dongle, which is awesome. I mean, you couldn't do that in Motion Enjoy and a few other things. And the cool thing about this version that we just updated to, and I don't know if it's this one or the other one, but configuration, you can here change the sensitivities of your stick and everything, which is what you could do on the old one, but you couldn't do this, Profile Manager. And here is where I can swap my controller. So here you can choose what pad you want. So let's say pad 1, and I'm going to be using that. I want to swap my triggers. So here you go. This one right here swaps the triggers. That makes this one, and this one. This is what I need for my PS3 controller, not if you're using an Xbox controller. Just hit save and then hit activate. Now let's say someone else, like let's say player 2, they want it reversed. You can just leave it default and hit save and activate. And you can go through every single one and customize the controllers per that person and what they want to use. This is why I tried to update my SCP in the first place, and it crashed that service and it wouldn't work anymore. So I had to do it all from scratch. I had to delete that service like I showed you at the beginning of the video, uninstall my drivers, and reboot the system. Now, nobody knows about this service. Nobody tells you about it at all. I just figure it out. I mean, I'm a network administrator. I just figured it out logically looking at what is being installed and how it's running and, you know, working. So, I mean, I don't know what else to go through with you guys, but I mean, mine's connected, it's working, and if you want to test the dongle, just go ahead and unplug the controller from the PC, and you'll see all 4 lights blinking for a bit. Hit the middle pad button on the controller, and it's going to take a little bit the first time. Give it like, you know, I don't know, 15 seconds, and you'll see that it will move to a solid light. You're good to go. You're all done. If you wanted to, you can go into here. I just want to make sure that all my stuff's installed. See, Xbox 360 controller, and installed that driver automatically like I was saying before. You know, here it shows it as a gamepad, and it shows my adapter. They're all linked together through this bus driver. So, I mean, here I'm set to go. I got everything I need, and you know, I hope this works for you. If you guys have any problems, let me know. But I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people have already tried this, so they have the SCP service installed. You need to remove the SCP service and unblock the files to get it to work properly. Now, if you can't get it to work properly, let's say it sees this, but it says here unknown, or it says nothing, go ahead and reboot your computer, because that means you just installed the new drivers and it just needs to reboot, and then you should be able to open up SPC service and see that, or the monitor, and see it here. If you don't see it here, but you see your controller here, I think that just means that the adapter you have, the dongle, is not compatible with SCP. And that could be possible because, like I said, you need to have multiple things. You need to have, actually, maybe I can show you right here. Hold on. I uninstalled Motion Enjoy because it was just not working, but downloads, Motion Enjoy. I want to show you something here. This is one thing that's pretty cool about Motion Enjoy, is that it showed me what was compatible. Don't care about that. Don't need that. Alright, so if you go here to the Bluetooth and you look at supported features, you see this? These are things that you need your Bluetooth adapter to be compatible with. Now mine, when it's plugged in, like if I go here and I install the drivers, then I can go here and click on support features and it will show me what's supported. Again, but you don't want to do this, because if you do this, it's going to write over what you just did with SCP, and it's not going to work, so you're going to have to do it from scratch. But I just want to show you this as an example. You go to support features. This is why some dongles don't work. These 2 things you need on your system, on the dongle, to be compatible with SCP, and you need it to be compatible with Motion Enjoy. These 2 services here are what you need to be compatible, to work at all. So if you don't know if your dongle has these settings or not, a lot of them might have some older ones or newer ones, but you need at least these 2. These are what you need. It's just what you need. What I would do is you can go here. Here's my dongle. I'm going to go to details and click on hardware IDs. This is the hardware ID for my dongle. So what you can do is copy it and paste it into Google and just say this and write features. And it should bring up a list. I mean, it's going to be different depending on the vendor of the dongle you have and what they say on their site, but with some searching around in Google, you could probably figure out if your dongle is compatible or not, if it has those 2 services installed. Yep, sure, I'll go ahead and reboot now. But I'll leave it here, guys, and I hope everything worked out for you. If you have any problems, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and link 2 other videos that I found useful and helpful when this, but again, these 2 videos are ones that I went off of that is not complete. One of them doesn't show how to unblock the files, I mean, it shows in a completely separate, like two separate videos that are not even connected to the initial install. So I'm like, what's going on here? And then the other video, I believe he was almost on the right track, but he didn't know about the Zadig, and he didn't know about the service for people that have it previously installed or they're trying to do an upgrade. But I do want to give them credit because they helped me with the initial, understanding of the software and how it works together. And then I used my knowledge as a network engineer to figure out about the services that were tied to the folders and, what we need to do when we're doing an upgrade as, like, remove the service. So I hope this worked for you guys. And if you have any problems, just feel free to comment in my section and I'll get back to you. Thank you.